So you want to pour and stamp your own concrete walkway. I did this one 2 years ago with 0 experience. And I did some DIY stamped concrete stairs in the back. So I'm kind of like almost a DIY concrete pro. Not quite, but I was able to pour this one successful and it's still beautiful 2 years later. It's almost as beautiful as it was 2 years ago. One key step that I skipped, we are going to go over all of that today. I'm going to talk to you about everything I've learned and what I will do next time to make it just that much better. Make sure you subscribe. I show you everything that I was successful doing and all of my fails as well. Enough talking. Let's get into it. You have to start by creating a form. I just used 1/4 inch plywood, which is also known as Meranti board. But I don't know why it's called Meranti board and not just 1/4 inch plywood. I cut it down to 4.5 inch strips on my table saw and I used wood stakes to drive them into the ground. First thing I learned is I would have laid down a solid layer of gravel first. 1 inch stone and covered the full base of the form before pouring. I did not do this. I only did it in a few areas to bring the base of my pad up to where the 4 inch was. Originally, I thought gravel was used for the base on uneven ground. That doesn't even make sense why I thought that, because it's actually meant for drainage. You don't want to get water trapped in there, especially in the wintertime. It'll freeze and thaw and the ground is eventually going to shift. The soil we poured on is almost all clay, so it's not moving, but it will shift over time. So I do regret not putting the stone down. I'm hopeful it's small enough that it won't shift a lot and we could fix it in the future. Just learn from me, put the stone down. This next one is a major learning curve. I had the form leveled and I had my concrete ready to mix. We mixed 38 bags of concrete and we only made it 1/3 of the way. So I know you're gonna ask, did all 3 pours turn out the same? And no, they did not. Back to my first point with pouring it in thirds, I 100% will be either ordering concrete or renting a concrete mixer next time. Number 1, it was exhausting. And number 2, no matter how hard you try, the consistency of the concrete will never be the same. 10 wheelbarrow pours of 3 bags each. That means 10 different consistencies. So I'm hoping, I don't know enough about concrete, that that's not going to affect it long term. It shouldn't, but I don't know. Let me know. Once your concrete is in the form, not forgetting your rebar at the halfway point, you have to wait until it is set up before you stamp it. So we have 3 different pours, like I mentioned, and I haven't forgotten, I'm going to show you the differences, but we also stamped them on different days. And you're probably wondering, does that make a difference? And concrete professionals are going to tell you, no, it doesn't make a difference. You can pour concrete in most weathers, and you can. But if you're doing it on a super hot day, like one of the days I did, it's going to set up so much quicker. So yes, someone who's professionally does concrete on a day-to-day basis can absolutely do it in all weather. I suggest you do it on an overcast, not super hot day, or do it in the evening or really early in the morning, because that sun will set that concrete up so fast. So I never thought that I would actually be showing you the fails that I did in this project, because I wanted it to be so good and I was so proud of it. But the more I've analyzed it, the more I realize people are watching these videos and wondering what not to do. So I'm going to show you exactly that. And that's what I want my channel to be about. I want you to learn from my mistakes. So if you haven't, click subscribe. So it's a little bit dirty and yucky right now because it's April. So it looks like crap. These are the 3 pours, and this is why you absolutely have to have consistency. So this is pour number 1 right to here. And then this is section number 2. So that's the one that I did all by myself. The weather was different and rushed it. So I actually didn't wait for the concrete to set up, and there was too much water on the surface, but I was in a panic, I didn't have patience, and now I'm kicking myself. And I really wish that I would have waited. So you can actually see the level difference where it's darker there. It does dry in the sun and it looks much better then. But those areas were extremely wet. So when I pushed it down, I actually unleveled the concrete, and now it has these dips there, so it collects water, it gets more mildewy. And again, I just wish I would have had patience, and I wish I also would have known how easy it is to actually fix if you stamp it too early. You can literally just screed it over again. It's like an eraser for concrete. Just go over the top of it, flatten it out again, have some more patience, and wait. So I actually have a small little form that I mocked up here, and I'm going to show you guys just because I think it's so important to have patience and wait until the concrete is properly set up. I feel like most people can tackle this DIY project, but where you're going to fail if you do is not having the patience to wait until all of that water is gone. So make sure you remember that what I'm doing right now is actually what not to do. So there's too much water like I showed you on the top of it. I put the release powder down anyway, and you can actually see that the water is seeping out around the stamp. and you can still see the water, and that the powder actually sort of floats over top of the water. Now, when you remove it, a lot of the release powder is actually going to come up with the stamp, and that should not happen. You're also going to see that the lines are extremely messy and like muddy. That should not happen. Here is an example of the third pour that I did at the end, the clean lines versus the messy lines. So the concrete should be set up before stamping, and you should be able to poke your finger down in it. And when you remove your finger, the hole is still there. If you're like me and stamp it too early, you just screed it over again. The thing I've learned is that concrete is very forgiving, and it's actually really easy to fix. So when the concrete was ready to stamp on this first section, I used the head of our broom and I dunked it into the release powder. You just sort of flick it across the top uneven and then you stamp it, which is as simple as what you're thinking. Put it down, press it on firmly, and you're almost gonna feel a crunch into the concrete. Lift it off and then repeat. So this first pour was done well. I promise you it looks a lot better when it's dry and pressure washed and not gross outside. This second pour was done way too rushed. But this third pour, it's like the porridge in the Three Little Bears. This third pour was just right. Can you see the difference? It's crazy. Like, big difference. Okay, this is so much better. It's 2 hours later, and this is how it's dried, right? So it's not as ugly. But again, second pour, worst pour. It has the low spots. Third pour is the best pour. So we've learned, keep consistency with the concrete as well as do it. If it can't be all done on the same day, do it in the same weather. So an overcast day like today and not in the bright sunshine. But the biggest, I'm so, why am I even saying this? The biggest takeaway 2 years later that I am embarrassed to say I didn't do, seal your walkway, people. Seal it. I didn't seal it. And unfortunately, I feel like 80% of the color that I put on with the stamping powder is no longer there. Now, it's not the exact same color as the front steps, which are a little bit more beige. This one's holding like slightly grayer. Seal it. It would have taken me 20 minutes and the color would have stayed. So now what I have to do is look for a concrete stain, something that penetrates and seals it as well, because I want it to be dark, a lot darker than what you see here. So seal it. If not, if you don't seal it, or if you want to stain some concrete, follow along, because I'm definitely doing that in another video. And I'm not paying hundreds of dollars. I'm buying it on Amazon. So I'm really hoping that it's gonna work out. So if that video is done, I'll link it here. If not, I will link something just as cool, concrete related, probably the back steps, which in that video, I actually made my own stamp. Yeah, I know, really cool. All right, thanks guys.